mental health, emotional health, physical health, deeper understanding, actionable takeaways to improve your quality of life. We're the Level Up guys.
Even guys can have emotionally literate conversations about these hard topics, and we're the guys that are going to prove it. Let's level up.
What's up, you guys? My name is Billy. I'm the host of the Level Up Guys. I'm here with my best friend, Jarrett. He's a mental health and wellness professional. I'm a yoga teacher, Pilates teacher, fitness enthusiast. And we chat all the time, have wonderful conversations, and we would like to invite you into our orbit. Today, what we've stumbled across is the feelings and emotions of anger. I personally have been feeling a little bit angry recently, even though I'm super smiley and happy most of the time. And Jared is as well. So that's what we've been chit-chatting about, Jared. So what's your experience recently? Because I know that you really typically ride at a really high vibrational level and have a lot of awesome stuff going on, and you're a therapist in therapy and you love doing all of this work. Like, have you been angry at any point? Like, what's going on with you?
So have I been angry lately? At times, yes. And I'm really happy to say that. I'm not mad at it. Essentially, it's been really important for me to be able to let my anger show up when it's there. And that's always been classically really hard for me since even being young and through a lot of my adult life. And, we'll get into some ways that can pose as a hindrance. But yeah, I've been angry lately and I'm psyched about it.
I mean, it shows up, even if in our brains we want to kind of deny it, like it shows up. Like I can feel, even though like the sun is out, everything is going great, like I feel like my nervous system is responding to it. Like I'm a yoga teacher, so we talk a lot about like the sympathetic nervous system and fight or flight or parasympathetic and being calm under challenging situations. This is one of the benefits of, doing exercise, yoga, Pilates, having challenging things that you do voluntarily in a really safe environment so that life gets easier. But even if it seems like, even if we deny it, like, I'm sweating and I feel a little bit, my shoulders are hunched up and my heart's beating a little bit faster, like that's truth, right? It does affect us in a biological way, deep
Physiological way.
physiological way.
Yeah, I mean, you're right that it shows up in our bodies even if we're not aware of it. And the way that the way that we take care of that is we kind of disconnect from our bodies if it is something that we're not comfortable with. But that's a little bit of the story of my dealing with anger historically.
Is suppressing it, but it still manifests in your body.
Yeah, and when you don't know how it's manifesting in your body, you can't effectively let it move through your body. So but I'm getting better at it.
Yep.
Trying to level up always.
One of the great yoga teachers ever said, stress is the root of all disease and illness. And a lot of people, when they get angry, feel those feelings of stress, anxiety, anger, being mad at something. Like it can manifest in headaches or neck pains or sore lower backs or tightness all over like that. And on that note, like stress, anxiety, anger, like when you're thinking about being angry, that seems like the symptom of other things, like emotions that are like hiding behind it, like fear or worry or disappointment or, because we all know that there's nothing good or bad. It's how we think about things, So the concept of getting angry at something. I get pulled over on my motorcycle on the way to Myrtle Beach yesterday. And so like it's not fun to get pulled over anytime like the blue lights go behind you, whether you're, on a pogo stick, a motorcycle, or in a van, it doesn't really matter. But you feel like,
Yeah.
And it could have very easily gone to being like angry, why this guy pulled me over, stupid me for doing this, right?
Sure.
I tried to be like, it was no big deal. I wasn't really worried about it, just naturally, like it was a beautiful day. I was on my way to do something really great. So I was friendly with the guy, and I didn't have any sort of like anger built in me. And he gave me a nice warning and told me that around here, motorcyclists typically will run and then I'll turn into a high speed chase, but that calmness was able to, I didn't feel fear or stress or anything that could manifest as anger. What are some of the deeper things that can hide behind anger?
Yeah, that's great. And I like your story there because it's possible that there was some anxiety, right, about being pulled over, and sometimes that can turn into anger at somebody else or anger at yourself. But yeah, so like resentment is another one that we'll get into. Sometimes disappointment in others creates anger. And I think additionally, embarrassment. I know there's been times where I've been embarrassed or felt guilty about something, and those are kind of really powerless feelings. You have to be very vulnerable and be okay with that, to just sit in embarrassment and let it
Yeah.
be that, or to sit in disappointment with
I actually
self or
felt I
others.
actually felt a little embarrassed at the
Mm,
point because motorcyclists have hand signals that they give to each other. So if I'm just riding along and I see a motorcyclist and he taps in his helmet like this, that
mhm,
means that there's police ahead.
mm,
That's the signal. Like in a car, you might flash your lights.
yeah.
That's what motorcyclists do. So I was in the fast lane and I'm behind this van. And the van, this guy reaches out, he rolls down the window.
Yeah.
Who rolls down? Yeah, he rolled down the window. It's 1980. And he reaches his arm out and he like taps on the roof.
Oh, got it. Yeah, that's what I
And
was
I was like,
imagining.
what the fuck is this guy doing? I thought he was like throwing something out. I thought he was gonna like flick a cigarette butt. I'm like, what is he doing? And then he pulled over into the middle lane and he did it again.
Hmm.
I'm like, and in my mind, I'm like, huh, that's what motorcyclists do. And there's cops, and boom, I get pulled over.
Mm,
And I was a little bit angry and embarrassed with myself. Like, I should have known that. I should have read this guy. Like, I should have seen it coming.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's yeah. I mean, another great kind of piece to add to the narrative there, right? And but if you're going to stay in kind of powerlessness, right, or powerless feelings, that's hard, right? It really takes security within oneself, and also security within one's own body, because when those things show up, our bodies get uncomfortable in different ways. Um, and for people that aren't able to tolerate that, sometimes they overcompensate with a really empowering emotion, being anger, which is kind of displaces some of the other stuff in a way. But I think, you know, related to that, Brene Brown, one of our favorites,
Oh, yeah.
wrote a book, Atlas of the Heart, where she explores anger as a secondary emotion a little bit, or she's done some exploring and talks a little bit about it. And you know, she's like, is it a secondary emotion? Is it something that actually is a result of another emotion being there, or is anger, you know, a primary emotion? Can something just lead to anger? And you know what conclusion she came to? She's
Don't,
not
please
sure. She's
so.
not sure.
Oh,
She doesn't know.
that's a
Um,
great answer.
yeah. And if as I kind of think about it, I think that anger oftentimes comes from feeling hurt, right? Or feeling like unfairness or injustice or whatever. So something about being hurt, or the people and anticipating being hurt, or thinking that the people that you care about are going to be hurt. And that can be, you know, from direct family, or it can be a community, or it can be somebody across, you know, people across the world, right?
Mhm.
So I think in those, anger shows up as a primary emotion. I mean, babies are born with some, you know, a grouping of primary emotions, including anger being one of them. So it's there inherently for a reason, right? As a primary emotion. And I think when we're hurt, we also tie these other emotions in, whether we know it or not, right? But yeah, when we're feeling hurt or embarrassed, like, you know, things like that. I think that it can get tied together, which I understand why it's like, is it secondary? Is it primary? I think it's both at different times.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
not binary. It's not a black and white thing. So let me ask you this. If there's a lot of different things that can lead to anger, is that the stop? That's not the stop. Like, what can anger then lead to? Like, what's the positive?
Mm,
Like, for me, I might want to then like take action
yeah.
against that thing, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you,
Absolutely.
after I got pulled over, it was torture. Like, anybody who rides a motorcycle knows that if you look at a motorcycle, it's doing 80. Like, you don't, it's like, but they're so light, they have strong engines. Like, for me to do like 60, the rest of the, like, I took action, and that was a catalyst for change because I knew if I got pulled over, like in the same day, I'd get a big ticket.
Yep. Yep.
It's like I had to just roll like super. I turned on, Enya on my headphones. He
Yeah.
just
Did
went
it,
with it.
did it help at all?
I mean, yeah. Well, if you go from Eminem to Enya, it'll definitely change
Might slow down your
your
nervous
speed
system too.
of your
Yeah.
speed of yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So great question. What is like why anger in a way? So it does prep your nervous system by releasing cortisol and adrenaline and a variety of other things because it is requesting action. And actually all emotions are cues to us for some kind of action, although not so much a reaction as much as a response. But I think, or what I should say is in some cases, it's asking us to react, but the reaction to whatever it is actually oftentimes rooted in our past experience or, what we've had to do to protect ourselves or, in a variety of ways, whether emotionally or physically or, things like that. And that doesn't always help us in every situation. And so sometimes it's like more about responding to it. And one thing that I like to think about with anger is that if it's there for a reason, right? It's a cue for some type of action, right? Um, but there's a difference between acting because of anger versus acting with anger, right? If you act with anger, you might be reacting, or it might show up as like rageful behavior, right? If you're acting because of anger, you are fully acknowledging that the anger is there, right? Like, and validating, like, you have a place here too. Like anger, you are welcome here. And now you've cued me to something that matters to me, right? You've like pointed the compass in a direction of something that matters to me. And now I can be purposeful about the action that I want to take or the change that I want to invest in, in terms of changing the world, changing my own behavior. Yeah, the external or internal world. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's there for a reason. It's cueing us to something like many other emotions.
I think you might have told me one time or some other super smart person, you can either have a conscious reaction or an unconscious reaction.
Mm,
Because somewhere I'm feeling like there might be like little triggers in there that might be in our subconscious, little things that like make us angry and they're triggers. And if it's an unconscious reaction, then you're in the perpetual loop of infinity of never being able to, level up.
yeah. And I mean, I love your motorcycle example too, because anger is meant to spark the engine, right? It's not meant to blow up the motorcycle, right?
Ooh, say
Both
that again.
create so both create fire, right? But it's meant to
Mhm.
spark your engine. It's not meant to blow up your motorcycle.
Hmm.
Bam.
That's I'm letting that sink into my brain. That's
I
a really good
see
one.
I see you letting that sink in.
So
I
then, all
appreciate that.
right, here's the obvious next question. Like, what happens if we deny it, is that when it blows up the engine? And
I
we don't
think
pay
that
attention to it. We don't, let it become a catalyst for change and recognize that it's a normal human emotion. It's nothing to shy away from. And we don't have to respond in such ways that other people get affected. Because that's a big part of it too. When, everybody discharges discomfort. And if you're feeling angry because the dog ate your homework and then you take it out on your coworker, right? That happens a lot, discharging the discomfort. Some people actually people will hit a punching bag in their basement or go for a run or come take my Pilates or whatever it is to like get rid of, I always feel after a yoga class or a Pilates class, whatever like huge issue that I walked in with is now like,
yeah.
you can't steal me. You can cut me off in traffic or you can cut me off in Trader Joe's. Like it's all good.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like it's I think valid to be pissed off if somebody cuts you off in traffic and it potentially creates a situation where you felt unsafe, right? Like anticipated harm, right?
Mhm.
Like that's where anger shows up, right?
Yep.
And so it's okay and valid for that emotion to be there. What do I want to do with it? Do I want to run this guy down and like race him or like cut in front of him or whatever? Like that might lead to the motorcycle or car blowing up as opposed to like, all right, that sucked, right? Like, what did that bring up in me, and how do I want to respond to it, right? Like, how can I assert some of my own healthy boundaries here so that it doesn't, and give the anger a container and let it move through me, things like that. And so one thing that I like that you brought up was the punching bag, right? Um, Literally just yesterday, I was talking with a client about anger, and I asked if they have a punching bag, because he said, like, he's like, I didn't do it because I know that it wouldn't be appropriate, but my knuckles were feeling like they needed impact. I needed some kind of impact. And he was like, all right, well, what did you do? How did you get it? He's like, well, I slammed the door. That kind of helped. It's like, okay, that could be scary for people around you. Do you have a punching bag? He's like, yeah, it's in my basement. It's not set up. It's like on the ground. It's like, could you go down and beat the shit out of the punching bag? Give your knuckles some impact? Because, like, that is your body saying, I have a need that's unmet, right? There's something in me that I'm wanting to release, and I need your help, right? It's our bodies asking for help releasing the buildup of energy. I mean, that's what emotions are. There's literal chemical and electrical energy building up somewhere. And sometimes that's why you feel it, like, in your hands or fingers. People might need to fidget with something. People feel a buildup of energy sometimes in their legs or feet. They might go for a run. Sometimes in your stomach, if, like, you're nervous or even angry. Yeah, it's literal energy in different forms that are building up that needs to be released, or it can cause damage to your body if it's overstimulated for a long period of time with cortisol and adrenaline.
Yeah. I mean, I know you and me and probably everybody listening to this or watching it on YouTube, like, we have been the punching bag from other people in relationships or family dynamics,
and I've allowed it.
Yeah. Tell me more about that. I mean, allowing it.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of why I allowed it was because I wasn't comfortable with my own anger, and also wasn't comfortable with the anger of the other person, even though I might make choices to be in relation to people who were, when they got overwhelmed, it showed up as anger. And I think that, that can go back to even childhood experiences where, a child, it might be unsafe to show up with anger if the parent isn't able to regulate themselves in the face of a child's overwhelming anger. And so for the child, it can be unsafe. It can be literally unsafe to risk the disconnection that could happen. Or at least that's the, like, message that our mammal bodies and brains get. Connection at all costs when you're a child, even if that means making yourself bad, or cutting off your own experience.
Yeah.
That's it for today, you guys. Make sure to follow us. You can find us on all the major platforms. If you really like what you heard, maybe share it with a friend, share it with a buddy, maybe share it with an enemy, because we all need a little bit of love. We're going to level up together. See you next time.